I want to be really clear. I'm going to talk about frequency of ejaculation, not frequency of sex. Most people, when they hear this conversation, are going to hear me say not to have sex. I'm telling you, have more sex, and here's how to do it. In Taoism, there's an equation. It's your age in years minus 7, and then you divide by 4. It's going to give you a number. And they'll tell you to maintain your health, that's the number of days between ejaculations, the minimum number of days. So if you got the number of 7 when you run the equation, that means you ejaculate once every 7 days. Like, what? But I might die. No, that's the same voice in your head that says, if I don't have tacos, I might die. It's BS. If you never ejaculated again, you wouldn't die, but it probably wouldn't be very fun. That's really the game we're playing. So when a man ejaculates, for 24 to 48 hours, there's a precipitous drop in testosterone. And they don't talk about this as much, but it's maybe more important. It's a rise in prolactin. And prolactin's another hormone that's actually associated with turning on breast milk. So that combination is why you hear the old, will you respect me in the morning? Well, there's an ejaculation hangover in men. And yes, it feels good to ejaculate. And there's a spiritual practice that says, what if you have sex and you don't ejaculate? What happens? Well, what happens is you have a lot more sex and your oxytocin levels go up and your testosterone levels are high and your motivation is high and your focus is high and you get a raise, you get a promotion, you start a company, you build a family, you build a life. And you realize that ejaculation is optional. And it shifts your whole perspective on things. Now, I didn't believe this. I thought it was BS. I thought, well, I'm a biohacker. I'm just going to get the data and I'll disprove it. And I published the data in my book, Game Changers. It's my personal development book. And I tracked my daily happiness for a year. And I tracked my frequency of sex and my frequency of ejaculation. And I tried the advanced technique, which is if you want to live forever, ejaculate once every 30 days, but keep your orgasm to under an hour. And I read that. I'm like, this is such BS. Like, I love proving ancestral practices as being real and science-based. And a lot of my work is around that. But this is one that couldn't be true.
Orgasms for an hour.
Yeah. I see why the warning is, because in the course of this year of practicing this with my partner, I did do 30 days. And there's a few times, you're publishing your data, like, well, I only made 23 days. Oops. It's kind of hard to go 30 days, right? And you learn that you're just not going to die, whether you do or don't ejaculate. It becomes an act that it's totally fine to do, but you do it when you decide to do it instead of reflexively. And it doesn't become the goal of sex. Like, sex is more playful. It's more intimate. It's more sacred. And then you can go as long as you want because ejaculation isn't the goal. So, an hour or two later, okay, like, we're both really happy now. And what you'll find is it makes you a much more conscious lover. But most importantly, you maintain your testosterone, your prolactin doesn't rise, and you feel really good. And doing this when you're 20, like if you run age in years minus 7 divided by 4, so that's 13 divided by 4. It's basically, you can ejaculate every 3 days when you're 20, right? But if you were to just do it once every 7 days, the amount of chi that you will have from that is crazy. And you'll probably be having sex every single day because you're always ready to go. And what's that going to do for your lover? It's going to rock their entire world, right? The Taoists, though, they have a huge number of pieces of advice for men and for women, and they're very different when it comes to this. And in the writings, they'll say, women walk away undiminished. And that means that for women, having an orgasm or even ejaculating, women can ejaculate, they do. And doing that is good for them. And in more recent studies, EQ goes up, oxytocin goes up, happiness goes up. But the Taoists never wrote an equation for women. And so I did a lot of research and I finally figured out the equation. And it's until you feel like you're going to die +2, right? And it
must be nice.
If the guy knows how to ejaculate at will or to not ejaculate at will, you can go to these profound states. And what you don't hear, but there's studies about this. 20% of people report meeting God during orgasm. So your partner's laying there flopping around, making noises and doing whatever they do. They're having a profound healing spiritual experience. So one of the pathways to increasing your consciousness is through sacred intimacy. And if you're going to ejaculate every single time, it's going to be really hard to get there. So learning to be peaceful if you skip lunch, to be peaceful if you don't have food for 3 days, and learning to be peaceful whether or not you ejaculate, it's an advanced spiritual skill, and it radically improves your energy and it improves your relationships in ways you would never imagine. And it takes the focus from how do I get there to I'm not going to get there today. What else can I do that's fun?
Yeah.
And it changes your whole vibe.